Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Ginger Hour, the show where I talk about things that I want to talk about. Now, last time was very Blizzard heavy, and if I know a bunch of people don't like care about Blizzard, but I do, and I want to talk about it. So, yeah, this week's not gonna be about Blizzard stuff though, so don't you worry. Before I talk about anything though, I want to say that fuck the people who did that thing in Paris. Um, just no. Um, I really hope they found and that justice and stuff. I can't. It's like I don't have anything more to say that hasn't already been said and that you yourself probably are even thinking. But I'm with you and I'm with all of them and fuck those guys. So onto the show. Yeah. Um, I picked up Guild Wars again, Guild Wars 2, the other day, and it's like I don't know. Guild Wars is weird for me. I really like it, but um, I don't know. It's sorry, creaky chair. There we go. Uh, it's it's weird because I'm used to World of Warcraft, and that's pretty much my go-to MMO because I love it so much. I think it's super amazing. Um, but Guild Wars is different. I mean, it's still super good, but it's I mean, you have to be a lot more mobile, and you have a lot fewer spells to keep track of, and there's no resource to manage unless you're playing a thief. And that's just super weird for me. But I'm into it, usually. Uh, I was like, my experience with Guild Wars 2 was like, I tried this class and then I played for a bit and it's like, and then I don't play it anymore. Um, then I rolled a warrior. This was a long time ago, by the way. I rolled a warrior, and I decided, you know what? I'm gonna stick with this warrior. And so I leveled her up to level 80. I think I finished the personal storyline, and then that was that. I mean, the end game in Guild Wars didn't didn't have much allure to me. If anything, I would go back and do the dungeons for I don't know either gold or you know gear to like transmog just to have it. Um, then I picked it up again like a couple of days ago because I felt like I want to more pick up for a bit, and I rolled a thief, and it's been super fun so far. I spent the entirety of the last Thursday playing. Pretty much got to level 15 because do it slow like you do. Um, it was nice, yeah. For those of you who don't know, Guild Wars 2 is a MMORPG um, set 250 or so years after the events of the first Guild Wars game, and it's made by a company called ArenaNet. There's not really a whole lot that I can say apart from that. I mean, the main storyline is pretty much this this elder dragon awakens, and you have to sort of deal with that, and then you deal with that. It's uh, it's pretty straightforward, but it's I think it's neat. I like it. Um, but you know, it's I mean to me anyway, it's a lot different than most MMOs that I've tried. So it's not just a quote unquote World of Warcraft clone. It's not, um, which is good. Uh, I think that, I mean, I'm not gonna say that World of Warcraft was the first proper MMO because I know it wasn't, but it it's certainly one of the biggest, probably even the biggest, and it's the one that's been around for a long time. I think 10 years or so now. Um, oh, geez, sorry. Just got up an hour ago. Sorry. um, but I mean, World of Warcraft has pretty much become the template for making an MMORPG, and ArenaNet didn't follow that template, and I thought that was amazing. It was a genius, a stroke of genius. Well, it was a good idea anyway. Um, Interesting mechanics like that, like they sort of quote unquote innovated with, was that most MMORPGs have factions. So like, oh gosh, I should get my yawns out before I start this. Um, I'm not gonna do that though. That would be silly. Yeah, but like World of Warcraft has the Alliance and the Horde. For the Alliance, by the way, I played Alliance. I mean, it's funny. Speaking of that, when you look at the statistics, if I'm not mistaken, at least when me and a friend looked it up a couple of years ago, the Alliance actually had more players overall, but the Horde players are far more like, um, I'm not gonna say connected to their faction because I don't think that's true, but they're a lot prouder with the for the Horde and the like Loktar and stuff, which is fine, but it's interesting to me. Anyway, the World of Warcraft has the Alliance and the Horde. Wildstar has the, I think they call the Dominion and the, I can't remember. The Outcasts? Refugees? I don't know. I can't remember. Um, let's see. Star Wars, the Old Republic has like the Jedi, the light side and the dark side, pretty much. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much the. I mean, I think I've played other MMOs as well, but I can't remember the names of the games. Well, I can probably if I try, but I can remember the factors in them if my life depended on it. And that's really interesting. There's no factions in the world. You can just roam around wherever you want, so long as you're high level enough to take on the mobs that are there, which is nice. I like that. But it's also the game, the only MMORPG uh, with a PvP system that I actually enjoy. Because I hate World of Warcraft PvP, and any other sort of PvP that I ever tried, I just loathed like so much. But but Guild Wars 2 does it really well, I think, and I really like it. So there's that, and it honestly it looks gorgeous. I mean it's I think it came out in 2012, like late 2012, but it's still super gorgeous. It is. Um, so yeah, it's free to play right now actually. So with a few restrictions, like I think you only have 2 character slots if you're on a free account, and yeah, the leveling up restrictions. Like you have to reach I think level 35 to get to go to Lion's Arch, and I think you have to be at level 20 or 22 or something like that to actually do the PvP, the starship PvP. So I mean, if you just want to go directly to the PvP, maybe that's not for you because you have to sit through 20-22 levels of PvE content, but if you want all of that, or if you just want the PvE content, then I think you should actually at least look into it, because I really like it. I think that Guild Wars 2 is a very good game overall. Even if I can if I can only play it for like bursts and like every so often, I think it's swell. I myself am on the Gandara server, so if you wanna hang out, leave me a comment, and we'll see about that. That was so weird to say. Gosh. There was a thing that I would want to say, but I can't remember it now. Fuck. Okay. Oh. Jesus Christ. But now, the meat of this episode thing, I want to talk about actually Magic the Gathering for a bit, because Commander 2015 was just released like I think today or yesterday or something. And the deck lists are out, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look through those deck lists and see if I can find anything interesting. So, for those of you who don't know, Magic the Gathering, for starters, is a trading card game or a collectible card game, however you want to see it, where you play as a planeswalker, which is like a super powerful wizard who can traverse the boundaries of pretty much reality and jump to different dimensions, sort of called planes, hence planeswalkers. And no, there's a story in each of the blocks, and there's it's neat. I love it. I love playing it. Um, I love reading about it. It's just super good. I'm just going to go through the card types real quick, because when I go through the cards, that's gonna be relevant. So there are, for starters, to actually play a card, you need to have mana, and the cost of the card is in the top right, depicted by either mana symbols, as they're called. This is 5 colors, so 5 different symbols, or any combination out of the 5, as well as sometimes a gray circle with a number in it, which means that those can be of any color, whereas the specific symbols have to be that specific color. And there are different card types. So land cards are your resources. They give you mana, so they enable you to cast your spells. Then there are creature spells, which stay on the battlefield and they fight for you, and they soak up damage for you, and stuff like that. Sometimes they have effects, sometimes they don't. Then there are enchantment cards. Then there are some types of creatures like human, vampire, soldier, warrior, whatever, which is sometimes relevant when cards interact with subtypes. And then there are enchantment cards that affect pretty much how the battlefield is laid out, or they affect your creatures, or they affect other enchantments actually, or they give you additional effects that you can use. And then there are subtype auras for enchantments that you can actually equip onto a creature, which usually buffs it up. Or if it's a nerf, you can place it on your opponent's creatures. And then there are artifacts, which is like enchantments, only enchantments are like magical things that encompass all of the things that you have, and artifacts are actual artifacts. Also important if there are like targeted spells that are very specific. There are also artifact creatures who are artifacts and they are creatures. So that could mess things up, or they could really be good for you as because an artifact creature could be destroyed by a card that says destroy target artifact or destroy target creature, but they can't be targeted by spells that said destroy target non-artifact or destroy target non-creature. So that's a thing. Then there are, let's see, instants, which aren't permanents. All of the previous things have been permanents because they remain on the battlefield. But instants are not permanents. They are spells that you can cast at any point when you have priority, as it's called. Usually during like friendly play, you don't even bother with priority and stuff, but sometimes it matters. But like you can cast them as a response to an opponent's spell, and then they go to what is referred to as the stack. And I'm not gonna get into that because it's kind of complicated. But you can interrupt an opponent's spells and make them not happen, or make them just whiff, which is it's cool. Which is why I enjoy playing blue, and my friends hate me forever. I might talk about the mana colors, what they represent, in a future episode, but I'm not going to go into that now because that could take a while. There's actually a super good video by Sean Day9 Plot on YouTube. I think his channel name is Day9 TV, where he talks about the mana colors and what they represent, and pretty much who you are for playing that mana color, and it's fun. I like that video. Yeah, and then there are sorceries, which are like instants, but they are generally either more powerful or cheaper because you can only play them on your turn. You can't use a sorcery to respond to what another player does. So you have like a sorcery that says you get X number of 1/1 tokens, and you have an instant that says get an X number of 1/1 tokens, where X is the same number and they cost the same. The instant is strictly better. But generally, if they cost the same, if I'm not mistaken, the sorcery would give you more tokens because you can only use it on your turn. Just less flexibility there. Let's see. I think there are more card types. There are planeswalkers. Like I said before, you as the player are a planeswalker, but there are also planeswalker cards, which is basically like you play them and then they show up and then they help you out. And they're weird because they aren't creatures, so they can like attack. They can be targeted by enemy creatures and enemy spells, and they have abilities, usually 3. The first one, who buffs them up, makes them like you more, essentially. They have a thing called loyalty counters, and the more loyalty counters they have, the more terrible stuff they can do to your opponent. So they have one first ability that gives them loyalty counters and gives you a tiny buff. Then there's a smaller ability that removes a small amount of loyalty counters, to either give you a slightly bigger buff or to give the opponent a slight nerf or a debuff or whatever. And then there's the big thing that removes a bunch of loyalty counters, and let's see, what's that saying? moves a larger amount of lord encounters, and that's a huge thing for you. For example, an example of the big things, like the ultimate quote-unquote abilities that Planeswalker have. Let's see if I can remember the Planeswalker to actually play with. Kiora the Crashing Wave's ultimate is -5. She starts at 2, if I'm not mistaken. It says you get a 9/9 blue Kraken creature token at the end of your end step. Well, you get an emblem with that. So, which means that every time you end your turn, you get a 9/9, which is huge. On the Planeswalker that I play with, Xenagos the Reveler, he starts at 3, I think, and his -6 is you exile the top 6 cards, top 7 or whatever, cards of your library. And exiles like a zone out of the game. Some things can bring them back, but they're generally outside of the game at that point. Then you get to play all of the creatures and land cards from them, among those cards, for free, which can be huge in a creature-heavy deck, which I play, which is he's in my Atarka deck because he fits the red-green color combination, even though he's not actually from, what's the word, the Atarka, let's see, the set, that's the one, that's the word, Dragons of Tarkir. Because Tarkir is a themed deck, it's like all out, formidable, because that's fun, so it's a lot of creatures in there. I think those are all on the card types. I'm not sure now. I think so. There are a bunch of them. So let's get into these decks. The first deck is Orzhov colored, which means it's white and black. It's called Call the Spirits. Its commander is called Daxus the Returned. It's a zombie soldier. A 2/2 for 3. A black and a white and a colorless. And it says whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you get an experience counter. You can pay a white, a black, and a colorless to put a white and black spirit enchantment creature token onto the battlefield. It has this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of experience counters you have. That could be interesting. I don't know that you would get an enchantment counter for using that ability, because I don't think it counts as casting a spell. I'm pretty sure it's not, it's a creature effect. But, I mean, in a enchantment heavy deck, this is gonna be huge. Let's see, because like you're gonna get this creature out on turn 3 probably, and then you're going to bombard the board with enchantment cards, so you're gonna get a bunch of experience counters. It's scratching my ear a bit. And then you pay 3 to get a huge creature. So that I'm into that. That could be fun. What is this? As I have this preview up, I can find that there. I'm sorry, my native spelling leaks through. A card called Bastion Protector, which is actually super good in a deck like this. Your commander was a 2/2, as you recall. This is a 3/3 for 3, 1 white mana and 2 colorless for a creature human soldier called Bastion Protector, with the effect that commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible, which makes your commander a 5/5 creature that cannot die unless his toughness is miraculously reduced to 0. So that's cool. Let's look through these cards. Like, for those of you who don't know, commander is a format of Magic the Gathering where you have a commander card and then a deck of 99 cards. It's 100 cards, including the commander, where only basic lands can be the same. Every single other card there can only be one of, which makes things weird and interesting. So it's essentially 100 good cards in the deck and then nothing else. What do we have here? Oh wow! A 2/2 Cat Scout for 2, 1 white, 1 colorless. When the Rescuers Explorer enters the battlefield, search your library for up to X Plains cards, where X is the number of players who control more lands than you. Reveal those cards, put them into your hand, and shuffle your library. This is cool because Commander is generally a multiplayer format where you play like 3, 4, 5 players at a time. And I mean, if you have a rotten start with your mana base, then this card could be huge. That's super cool. We have Karlov the Ghost Council, a white and a black for 2/2. A Spirit Advisor. I think this is a reprint from the Return to Ravnica block, but I'm not sure. It says whenever you gain life with 2 1/1/1/1 counters on Karlov of the Ghost Council, and then pay a black and a white to remove 6 +1/+1 counters from Karlov the Ghost Council to exile target creature. That's potentially huge, and well, it's a good ability, but I'm not sure how much you're gonna use it. I don't know how much life gain is in this deck for starters, so let's look through that. Let's see. Here's the first enchantment creature, which work like artifact creatures, only it's enchantments instead of artifacts. You get it. Probably either a new card, which it might be, or it's a reprint from the Theros block, which was super heavy on enchantments and enchantment creatures. So it's a black and white for a 2/2 again. Constellation, whenever Underworld, Coinsmith, or another enchantment enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. There it is. A white and a black, pay 1 life, each opponent loses 1 life. No, I can see that happening. It's not amazing, but it's fine. An enchantment artifact, Burnished Heart, a 2/2 for 3. You can pay 3 to sacrifice it and search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. I can see that happening if you haven't drawn a bunch of lands and you need lands. It's okay. Let's see. Whoa, cool. This is a 2/1 for 3, 1 white and 2 colorless. It has flying, which means it can only be blocked by creatures with flying or haste. No. It can only be blocked by creatures with flying or reach. And if you use 8 mana, you tap all creatures target player controls, which means that player can't use those creatures to block your things or to use their abilities or anything, which could be super good. Ghostblade Eidolon, it's an enchantment creature with a bestow cost. It's a 1/1 with double strike, so it gives enchanted creature 1/1 with and double strike. And now bestow is an effect where you can play a lot more to cast it as an aura spell rather than as a creature spell, which is super cool. Let's see. A kicker effect, Core Sanctifier is a 2/3 for 3, 1 white and 2 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So either it's a 2/3 for 3, which is it's okay, it's not super good. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not good. But if you pay 4, if you pay 2 white, 2 colorless, you get a 2/3, and you get to destroy an artifact or enchantment. It's actually interesting to have artifacts or enchantment removal in a in an artifact, no, not an artifact, in an enchantment deck. That's fine. Let's see. That's a solid card for this deck. Monk Idealist, a 2/2 for a white and 2 colors. Solid. I'll move my mouse there for a bit. When Monk Idealist enters the battlefield, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand, which is super important in an enchantment-based deck. Let's see. Mesa Enchantress, a 0/2 for 2 white and 1 colorless. You're never gonna attack with this creature ever, because it has 0 power and it dies to everything. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you may draw a card, which is super good. Gotta have them cards covered. But it says you may draw cards, so if you have a full hand and you don't want to draw, you don't have to, which is dope. Let's see. Going into the black cards now, I think. No, I think we have a couple of whites further down. That's fine. Wow, interesting. It is a 0/0 for 2 black and 1 colorless, which you will never ever play like that. But it has a bestow cost for 2 black and 2 colorless, and it says, oh no, you can play it for its basic cost. That's fine. But Night Howler and enchanted creature each get +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. This could be super powerful. That could be huge. Corpse Augur, a 4/2/4, 1 black and 3 colorless. When it dies, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of creature cards in target player's graveyard. That doesn't maybe sound super good at first, but in a deck where you're gonna gain life from playing enchantments and stuff, and you know, the card draw could be good enough to outweigh the life loss. Wow, that's actually super good. Enchantment creature 3/4 for 4, 1 black and 3 colorless. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Fate Unraveler deals 1 damage to that player. Damn. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Fate deals 1 damage to the player. That's actually super good because most people want to be drawing cards. That's actually a lot. Super good against a card in the Izzet deck that I'm going to be getting to in a bit, because it's one of my favorite cards in Commander 15. Let's see. Creature with the effect. I'm gonna be going through this a bit quicker because there are 5 decks. It's the first one, and I've already talked for half an hour. Let's see. Whenever an enchantment creature enters the battlefield under control, put a 2/2 white card. Gosh, words are difficult. Put a 2/2 white cat creature token onto the battlefield. If that enchantment is an aura, you may attach it to the token. That's cool. That means you can just play an aura on nothing and then still have it attached to something. That's interesting. Constellation give -1/-1. Pretty big creature. That's cool. Give Constellation, give creature Intimidate, a 4/2. That's alright. I'm not gonna go through the effects. That's silly. Whoa. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That is super powerful. Celestial Ancient. Keep a watch for that. For 4 flying first strike, enchanted creature gets +4/+4 and has flying and first strike. Bestow cost. A lot. Myriad, that's fun. Flying Vigilance 4/4. Myriad is a new effect if I'm not mistaken. Whenever this creature attacks for each opponent other than defending player, you may put a token that is a copy of this creature onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker he or she controls. Exile the tokens at end of combat. So if you fight one player with this creature, you can have a copy of that creature attack each other opponent. which is fun. You don't have to choose anymore. You can just attack everyone with the same creature. Another mutated creature, black one. Whenever Banshee of the Dread Choir deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. Thief of Blood is fun. It's a 1/1 for 6, which is generally not good. But when it enters the battlefield, remove all counters from all permanents. Thief of Blood enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each counter that removed this way. So it's usually going to be huge at that point in the game. And that could be fun. Let's see, an Extort creature, which means you can play a white or a black, pay a white or a black when you cast a spell to gain 1 life. No, actually, no. Each opponent loses 1 life and you gain that much life. So if you play against 3 opponents, you can gain 3 life and they're each going to lose 1 life. Whenever it attacks, you can pick an artifact creature or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. That's fun. You have to draw a bunch of cards if you play it and you don't have a lot of cards, that's fine. Return enchantment card. Here's a fun card, I think. It's a 4/4 for 6. Vigilance and protection from creatures, which means it can't be hurt by creatures. It can actually be blocked if it attacks by creatures. That's fun. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, destroy that creature. Put a 1/1 black and white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So it's a deterrent. People don't want to punch you when they have that thing. When you have that thing, actually. That's fun. Let's see. Moving on to the sorceries. Those were all creatures. Sorceries now. You draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life for 4. That's alright. Wow. Pay 4. Exile target creature. That could be fine. Put a colorless artifact creature token named Gold onto the battlefield. It has sacrifice this artifact. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. That's alright. It's a fun card, more than a good card, I think. It is still exile a creature for 1. No, sorry. Still an exile target creature for 4. So, that's a thing. Let's see. Sorcery, choose 1 or both to return target enchantment card from the game to your hand. Yep, this is target enchantment. Maybe. That's fine. For 4, yeah. Sorcery, choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Put a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance onto the battlefield, exile target enchantment, you gain 5 life. So you could gain 15 life, you could get 3 2/2s, you could exile 3 creatures. No, 3 enchantments. Or you could do 1 of each, or any combination of the 3. Let's see, 6 mana, return all artifacts and enchantment cards from all graveyards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Interesting. Cool. Because this is an enchantment heavy deck, you are probably going to have the most amount of non-aura enchantments. I think. That could be cool. Let's see. Oh wow. 6 mana, destroy all creatures. Each player loses life equal to the number of creatures he or she controls that were destroyed this way. Wow. Going on to the artifacts. I looked at the last one. It was in last sorcery dice. So Sol Ring, you pay 1 mana, you can tap it to add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. That's a good trade-off, even on the turn you play the Sol Ring. Let's see. 1 mana, Wayfarer's Bauble, pay 2 and tap it, sacrifice it, set your library for a basic land card and put that card on the battlefield tapped and shuffle the library. It's okay. I mean, no, I don't like it. I'm sorry. I mean, you could just as well have a like an Evolving Wilds or Terramorphic Expanse for the same effect with none of the mana costs. So no, I'm not into that. Lightning Greaves, equipped creature has haste and shroud, equip 0. That's actually super good. Orshav Signet, pay 1. You cost 2. ability effects. Pay 1, tap it to add a white and a black. That's gonna be super good. Thought Vessel, pay 2 to cast it. You have no maximum hand size. That could be super good, especially in this deck, which had a bit of card draw. Tap it for 1 color as well. Crystal Chimes, return all. Pay 3, tap it, sacrifice it, return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand. Orsha Cluestone, let's see. Tap it for a white or a black mana, pay a white and a black, tap it, sacrifice it to draw a card. Then we have the enchantments, which is the meat of this deck. Actually 21 enchantment cards, which is interesting. That's a lot. 25 creatures. Let's see. Enchantment lets you pay 2 life to return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. Sacrifice this enchantment to destroy target artifact for enchantment. When a non-black creature enters the battlefield, sacrifice Grave Peril if you do destroy that creature. I could hamper you a bit sometimes, because you also have white creatures, but a lot of the other Commander 15 decks don't have black at all, so that could be fun. Let's see. Exile target creature until this card leaves the battlefield. That's fine. Enchanted creature can attack or block. Alright. See, whenever a spell or ability an opponent controls, this destroy target non-creature permanent to control. What? I just confused myself. Whenever a spell or ability an opponent controls, destroy a non-creature permanent you control. So if your opponent destroys a land or a planeswalker or an artifact or an enchantment that you control, you may destroy target permanent your opponent controls. So that's anything. That's fine. Oh. Interesting. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has vigilance, and can attack you or a planeswalker you control. Interesting. So you can buff his creatures up, but make them unable to attack you, or you can just buff your own creatures up. Cool. I'm gonna go through this a bit faster because I'm already on 40 minutes. Gosh. There are a lot of creatures. A lot of cards. Gosh. There seems to be a lot of control. Enchantment that makes enchantment and artifact cost more for your opponents. That's cool. Enchanted creature is indestructible. This is cool. Okay. Whenever it accesses Torment or another enchantment creature enters the battlefield and you control, it becomes a 5/5 demon creature with fly and haste. So it's an enchantment creature, as the actual enchantment becomes the creature until end of turn. That's cool. Multi-kicker enchantment. I'm not fond of those. Let's see. Oh, that's fine. Dictate of Heliod is a solid card. Its enchantment says creature you control gets +2/+2 for 5, which is but it has flash, so in the middle of combat you can just play it as an instant. Super good. Sigil of the Empty Throne. Yeah, I can see that. Black Market, solid card. Whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market. That's any creature that anyone controls. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add 1 black mana to your mana pool for each charge counter on black market. So that could get out of control real fast. Give you a bunch of mana. Oh wow. Excuse me. When Necromancer's Covenant enters the battlefield, exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. Then put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield for each card exiled this way. Zombies you control have lifelink. That's cool. There's a bunch of lands. There's Scry lands, a bunch of extra manas. Actually, an Order of Guildgate, which, I mean, it's Guildgates are probably my least favorite double lands. But since you can only have one of the other double lands, I guess that's fine. Temple of the False God is a card that I like, though. And that was that deck. I like it. It could be fun. I don't think that I'm gonna buy it. Or probably not. I'm looking at the is it the Golgari and the Simic one primarily because they all look interesting, and enchantments aren't really my thing. But the Izzet one looks cool. I might just do that and then wrap it up. I'm not sure, or I might just go through it faster. Anyway, this is a deck. It's called Seize Control, which means it's probably gonna have a bunch of bounces and tap effects, which I think are fun. So the commander, I just goofed it away. Let's see. Oh, it's right there. That's fine. It's called Mizzix of the Ismagnus. He's a 2/2 for 4, a red and a blue, and 2 colors. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast for each experience counter you have. So what you want to do with this commander out, you want to throw out some cheap spells to build your experience counters, and you want to throw down a mother of a spell for no mana at all. That's going to be super cool. It's a very instant sorcery heavy deck. It's got 23 instants, 15 sorceries, and actually only 14 creatures, which is super few. Let's look through them. Goblin Electromancer, solid card in this deck. Instant and sorcery spells cost 1 colorless less to cast. Super good. Let's see. Oh, each player discards a card. No, discards it to her hand even, then draws cards equal to the number of cards the player discarded this way. Huh. Interesting. Gigantoplasm. You may have Gigantoplasm enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it gains X. This creature has base toughness XX. So you can buff it up super much. So if you can copy a big creature and then make it super, like a huge amount bigger, that's a cool card. I like that. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying into the battlefield. Seeing as you're gonna throw out a lot of instants or sorceries, that's probably a good card. Let's see. Cool. Psychosis Crawler's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. So if you have a bunch of cards, it's gonna be huge. A Myriad 3/3, that's fine. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So if you play against, say, 3 players and you attack 1 and you hit with all of the tokens as well, you get to draw 3 cards. That's cool. A 4/1 with flash. Whenever illusory, ambush, or stealth damage, draw that many cards. Cool. So you flash it out, block a thing, and then you draw a bunch of cards. Let's see. A creature that gets a buff when you have no other creatures out. I mean, seeing as you don't have a lot of creatures, that could be fine. But I mean, you're gonna want to have your commander out at this point, so I don't know. If I play with Myriad and Haste, good for the smashing faces. Beginning with upkeep, return an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand. That could be super fun. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Charmbreaker Devils gets +4/+0 until end of turn. That's huge. That's an interesting card. And here's my favorite card in the entire Commander 2015 because it's just so much fun. It is a 5/5 flyer for 6. Whenever you cast a spell, put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library in any order, then draw that many cards. So whenever you cast a spell, you are going to be cycling through your entire hand, which is bad if you have a play planned, but could be amazing if you don't, or just fun if you wanna, switch out your hand at every turn. Then we have a 3/6 that you can return to your hand for 3. That's fine. Another legendary creature, Melek is its Paragon, a 2/4. Play with the top card of your library revealed. That's fine. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an instant or sorcery card. That's good. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your library, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. That's huge. That means that you want to play the spell on top of your library because you get to cast it again essentially for free. And then we have the final creature in this deck, a 5/5 for 7 flyer. Oh wow. Whenever Dragon Mage deals combat damage to a player, each player discards his or her hand, then draws 7 cards. Duh. That's actually super powerful. Let's see, sorceries. Pay 1 mana, scry 2, then draw a card. That is legitimately super good. For 1 mana. Gosh. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards for 1 red. Yep. That could be fun. I mean, at least it's not discard 2 cards and then draw 2 cards, because that's more of a gamble. You get to draw the card first and look at what you have and then discard 2 cards. Destroy target artifact you don't control for 1 red. That's good. If you overload it for 4 more mana, you get to destroy every artifact an opponent controls. No, every artifact you don't control. That could be a lot of stuff. The flavor text beauty is in the eye of the exploder. That's beautiful. Deal 4 damage to target creature you don't control with overload for a lot. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards the player discarded this way. Yeah, alright. Return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand with flashback. That's good. Target opponent exiles card until he or she exiles a non-land card. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Cool. Exile target card that's an instant sorcery from graveyard. For each card exiled this way, copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Exile this card. Overload. Wow. So if you pay 8 mana, 3 of which have to be red, you get to cast every single spell. Wow. Yeah. Wow. You get to cast every single No, that's wrong. you get to cast every single instant or sorcery spell in your graveyard for free. That's not true. You pay 8 for it, but you get to cast every single instant or sorcery in your graveyard at the same time. That could be huge. That is amazing. Sorcery. Let's see. Put a token onto the battlefield. That's a copy of target creature. If right of replication was kicked, put 5 of those tokens. You get a huge amount of stuff by that. Tap all creatures target player controls. Those creatures don't untap during that player's next untap step. That's good. X damage to each creature where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. That could be a board wipe, pretty much. Whoa, that's cool. Put a 5/5 blue and red elemental creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Retrace. That's a new word. I don't know that. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other costs. That's cool. So you discard a bunch of lands, you can just cast this card forever. It costs 7, however, so be gentle with that. For each opponent can control a target permanent that player controls. Alright, that costs 7. That's a lot. That's fine. Exile the top X cards of your library for each instant and sorcerer with a card with the converted mana cost X or less. Among them, you may cast a card without paying its mana cost. Alright, that's fine. That's not amazing. I mean, it's a mythic, so it's a good card, but like I don't like cards that make you put things in your graveyard. I don't. I guess because this is a very instant and sorcery heavy deck, it probably is value either way, but you know. Sorcery that deals a bunch of damage. Instants now. Cool. Tap target creature you don't control with Overload. You can tap all of the things. Brainstorm. Draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of the library in any order. Sorry. Good card. Return target non-land permanent and all other permanents with the same name as that permanent to their owner's hand. What? Wow. So, wait. I'm not sure about that card in Commander, because you can only have one of the same thing, unless you want to bounce a Myriad creature. That's Draw 2 cards and discard a card at random. I mean, it's draw 2 cards and discard 1 card. I mean, that's alright. Versus Rage, Kicker. Wow, you may pay an additional 9 mana. That's interesting. Let's look at this. Oh, wow. Versus Rage deals 3 damage to target creature or player. 3 mana, that's fine. If Versus Saber is kicked, instead it deals 10 damage to that creature or player, and the damage can't be prevented. That's cool. Yeah. This is a weird card. Counterflux. It can't be countered by spells or abilities. It counters target spell you don't control, or you can overload it to counter all of the spells you don't control. So if 2 players are in like a counter spell war back and forth, you can just pay 4 mana and just wipe that all out. We have Aetherize, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands, solid card. I'm not convinced. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. I might begin skipping through this because I mean I'm closing up on an hour. I might just finish this one and then maybe do the next ones next week, or just not, because I've already given you sort of a look at the stuff. Oh, what? What? Untap all creatures you control and all creature target opponent controls. You and that opponent each gain control of all creatures the other controls until end of turn. Those creatures gain haste until end of turn. Interesting. So essentially you untap all of your stuff and you tap all of his stuff, or her stuff, I guess. Then you switch boards. Or at least the creatures on your boards. That's super weird. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library and separate them into 2 piles. That's the same. It costs the same, only this one requires 1 red as well. Mystic Confluence. Choose 3, you may choose to say more than once. Same as the one before. Counter target spell if its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand and draw a card. Split second, what's that? Oh, what? Split second. As long as this spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Wow. That's wow. Cool. Untap target permanent and gain control of it until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn. That's good. Ooh, interesting. Active aggression has old mana symbols with a specific sign in it. That means you can actually you can pay 2 life instead of paying the color, which is cool. Gain control of target creature opponent controls, untap it, gains haste. Cool. Prophetic Bolt deals 4 damage. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of those cards into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library in any order. Fine. Cool. Gain control of target spell, you may choose new targets for it. Cool. So if an opponent throws a damage spell at you, you could just redirect that to wherever you want. Cool. Cast Mirror Match only during the Declare Blocker step. For each creature attacking you or a planeswalker you control, put a token as a copy of that creature onto the battlefield blocking that creature. Exile those tokens at end of combat. Damn. Let's see. Firemind's Foresight. Search your library for an instant card with converted mana cost 3, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then repeat this process for instant cards with converted mana cost 2 and 1, then shuffle your library. Wait, what? Wait, what? You get to search for a card, converted mana cost 3 or less. No, converted mana cost 3. Reveal it, put it into your hand. Then search for a converted mana, and instead of converted mana cost 2, converted mana cost 1, and then shuffle your library. Interesting. Permanent with X from his hand. Draw a card. You pay X and a blue. Alright. Yeah. Choose target creature or player, and choose another target creature or player for each. Oh, cool. So you pay 2 red just to cast a spell, and you pay X for the amount of damage. And then you pay 1 colorless for each target. That's cool. I like that. Spreading the damage X and the target amount of X. Well, the first target is free because it comes from the 2 red. Quake deals X damage to each creature without flying and each planeswalker. That's cool. What if the planeswalker has wings, though? I wouldn't be surprised Sorin Markov could fly. Wow. Pay a blue, 2 colorless, and then X colorless. Target player draws X cards. Can control a target creature with converted mana cost X or less. It's basically like a mind control. I think it's called from Hearthstone. Only very specific in the mana cost. Blue Sun Zenith. Target player draws X cards, shuffle Blue Sun Zenith into its owner's library. Wow. So you pay 3 blue and a bunch of X to just draw a bunch of cards, and then you shuffle that card into your library so you can do it again if you draw it again. Cool. Going on to artifacts, you have Soul Ring, that I mentioned before. 2 colorless mana for 1 colorless mana. Visit Signet, 2 to play, 1 to use, tap it, get a blue and a red. Pot Vessel, no maximum hand size again. Worn Power Stone is new though. Pay 3, it enters the battlefield tapped. You tap it for 2 colorless mana. Seal of the Guild Pact. This is fun. As Seal of the Guild Pact enters the battlefield, each spell you cast costs 1 less to cast for each of the chosen colors it is. So in this deck you would choose red and blue. And if it's a blue card, it costs 1 colorless less. If it's a red card, it costs 1 colorless less. If it's a red and blue card, it costs 2 less. That's cool. Enchantments. This first one is actually, I like it a lot. It's a good deterrent. It's an enchantment. It costs 4, 1 red, 3 colorless. When a source an opponent controls deals damage to you, sacrifice Awaken the Sky Tyrant. If you do, put a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. This means that your opponents aren't going to want to attack you because you would get a 5/5 flyer, which is generally a pretty powerful creature to have. Let's see. That's oddly specific. It's an enchantment that says creatures named Lightning Ranger can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player puts a 5/1 red elemental creature token named Lightning Ranger onto the battlefield. It has trample, haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice its creature. Cool, because it gives each opponent each player on their turn a 5/1 red elemental creature token that can attack you, but they can attack each other with it. And you can attack anyone because you get it as well. That's actually super cool. I like that. If you would draw a card, you'll draw 2 cards instead. An enchantment for 7. 3 blue, 4 colorless. That's good. So if you would like at the beginning of your upkeep, when you draw cards, you draw 2 cards instead, because it doesn't specify that that's a separate instance. And if you cast a spell that says draw 3 cards, you draw 6 cards. That's huge. There's a bunch of lands, like a couple of islands, Vivid Creek, Vivid Crack, a couple of mountains, Hammerfleet Expanse, Temple of the False God. Again, a bunch of stuff. That was, yeah. Oh god. That was an hour. Jesus Christ, I did not think that it would take so long, and I'm not gonna go through the other decks, but I can go through the names and the colors. I can actually go through the commanders, actually, because that's fine. The commanders usually give you a sort of a hint as to what the deck is about. So, the next one is the Golgari deck, which means it's black and green. It's called Plunder the Graves. The commander is a 3/4 for 4. Whenever another creature you control dies, you get an experience counter. So when your stuff dies, you get the counters, which is weird if you're not like super into what the black-green generally is. At the beginning of your end step, choose target creature card in your graveyard. If that card's converted mana cost is less than or equal to the number of experience counters you have, return to the battlefield, otherwise put it into your hand. So you could put any creature from your graveyard to your hand, or you could put a creature with the number of experience counters directly onto the battlefield. That's super powerful. I'm actually really into this deck, or at least that effect, because it just sounds super cool. And specifically one creature in here. Let's see if I can find it. That's super creepy. It's a Kid Vampire. That's a cool card. I'm not gonna go into it. It's a multicolored card. Let's see if I can find the thing I'm looking for. It's not it at all. I was so sure it was in this deck as well. What's that? Oh, that's a good card. It's not here? I was so sure it was gonna be. That's so weird. Oh, there it is. Scourge of Niltoth. It's 6/6 for 7, flying. You may cast Scourge of Niltoth from your graveyard by paying 2 black and sacrificing 2 creatures on their base when it goes. I think that's interesting. Maybe it's not amazing, but it's fun. I also saw a mythic rare black creature I want to look at for a second there. Champion of Stray Souls. It's a 4/4 for 6. You can pay 5 and tap it to sacrifice X other creatures to return X creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Or you can pay 7 to put it on the top of your library from your graveyard. That's cool. Alright, the Boros deck, which means it's red and white. It's called Wade into Battle. The commander is a 3/3 with double strike and vigilance, which is super powerful. Whenever you cast a creature spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater, you get an experience counter, which means that this deck is going to have a lot of creatures that are expensive. Kalemne, Disciple of Eoras, gets +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. That's pretty cool. And then finally, we have the Simic one. The commander is called Essuri, Claw of Progress. I'm pretty sure Essuri was like an elf general in the past, but he looks pretty messed up in this picture. I'm not sure about the lore from his time, but he looks messed the fuck up. Anyway, he's a 3/3 for 4. Whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you get an experience counter. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is the number of experience counters you have. Which means that this deck is probably going to have a lot of really small creatures. Oh, Coiling Oracle, that's fun. I like that card. What is it? Power 2 or less. Let's see. I can find any creature with power 2 or greater. Power 3 or greater, I guess. I can find it. Oh, that's one. One creature so far. 2, 3, 4. That's just a good card. 5, 6. 6 creature cards out of 33 have power 2 or greater. So you are going to get a lot of experience counters when you have Essuri out. But anyway, I'm probably gonna pick up one of these. I'm not sure. It's either going to be the green blue, the green black, or the blue red. Guess which colors I play, guys. Let's see. Where was I going? Yeah, I'm probably gonna pick up one of those because I like these decks. They seem fun to play. Ooh, let's see. Stretching, yeah. But I don't know. I hope you got some sort of insight into what this is and what the decks are going to be played. How the decks are going to be played. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, that's all I have for this week. Let's see what I do next week. I might actually do a self pat on the shoulder. Shoulder? Yes, shoulder. And go through what one of my main decks that I usually play is. And I don't think it's terribly expensive. I might look that up and give you a hint as to what it costs. It's almost standard legal as well, so that's fun. But until then, I hope you have a great week. And I will see you next time. Have a good one.